Hi everyone, my name is Olivier Bourgognon and also known as the Fucked Up Therapist. I decided to start this YouTube channel and Spotify podcast to talk about the art and the world of healing, therapy, and how we're basically all somehow a little bit fucked up. So I first decided to do this first episode to explain a little bit about my journey, who I was, my path, and why this led me from the corporate world to the healing and the therapy world. So first of all, I'm 49 years old. I was born in Switzerland, born and raised there from a British mother, Swiss father, and had what we could for mainly most people call a happy youth. Nothing very specific. And then slowly a few things came in through my past, which I'll be talking about during further podcasts episodes. But so I was living in Switzerland and was working in the corporate world. Worked as a computer programmer, started there, then worked in multiple different fields, private banking, then moved on to the graphic design, photography, entered sports through scuba diving instructor, and so many other topics. And I realized that one of my things was the change. I couldn't stay in the same place for too long. I'd have itchy feet. My parents used to tell me that I used to flop my feet and just bounce my feet all over the place when I was a kid, sitting at the table. I was just called fidget. So basically I was moving along all the way, all the time. I had to go somewhere, another place, and go and explore. With the other part of that is that when I'd explore, I'd basically get into some kind of trouble. I'd go into the woods, I'd fall in the water. I'd come up all muddy. So basically, I was going through learning curves and exploring. And that went through my whole path. So suddenly I realized, well, the way we work and the way our patterns work is exactly the same thing. I followed my path up to more healing, hypnotherapy, therapy work, EFT, and many other modalities of healing. And through all these I realized that there was a combining factor, us, and that deep part of us inside. And I thought, well, what are our limiting beliefs? What are my limiting beliefs? And how can I actually move on? How can I actually grow? And from there, how am I going to actually help people? So this path I've been going on for probably about 20 years somehow, with training, with all my further education, with all the exploration, and then for myself, and using it with clients for the last 5 years. So the way I actually see it now is I'm connecting the dots. Computer programming was programming, but it was working also to understand how our mind works, neural connections somehow. And I still use technology nowadays, but I've left it aside for my healing work. And in that work, I've understood that we're going more within the soul. When I was connecting more with humans before in scuba diving, there are processes, there are protocols, and there are ways to get a better result. Then I started realizing that a big part of that was mindset. But mindset is not within the mind. Actually, mindset really starts inside, within our sacral and our emotions, within our being. So I continued working and studying all these and trying to understand a little bit more of how the subconscious worked. And that led me further on to all the healing work. And then what actually happened was that since my young age, I also, in the less fun part of life, but which has taught me a lot somehow, is all overcoming death and overcoming change, where I lost some really close friends of mine when I was a child, and then my father when I was in my 20s, my partner a few years ago from lung cancer, and I realized that death was really part of us, and being able to accept that part of that journey within us. And the more I was going through that journey, the more I was exploring, the more I was feeling comfortable with change. I'd been moving around. I lived in France, in Switzerland, spent a few months in Southeast Asia, in Spain, doing multiple types of jobs. And finally, What's change? Change is just a new opportunity to grow, and that's what I really, really wanted to bring in with that part of also the fucked up therapist. Because many people see themselves as one thing, one being, and they're going to take information which is given to them from parents, from family, from relatives, from partners, and they'll beat themselves up. And we all have that. We all do that. And somehow maybe you do that too. And I realized that when I started looking at my patterns and having to overcome them, I was looking at the story of myself, at which identity I'd stuck within me, who I was. And was I kind of that poor me? Was I that small kid wanting validation? And what was I seeking for? And that's also when I decided to leave the corporate world and the photography and web design world, because I was seeing so much ego within that. I'd reached a stage where I was public speaking, working for brands, and suddenly I realized, yes, but why? And there was a lot of ego until I managed to drop this and say, okay, I can do that somehow. Do I still feel the buzz to do it? Sometimes. But do I still feel that now it's coming from within and I just feel, okay, I'm entering a space and I'm feeling very comfortable with that, and whoever I am with my face, my figure, exposing myself, and slowly building blocks with that. So obviously, as everyone, nobody's healed fully, if even we have to heal, but we're going through a path of our self-exploration and learning pieces of comfort, pieces of discomfort, and moving along further with that. So it's all growth, and I say that growth needs to come from love, and from love from ourselves. If we beat ourselves up into growth, it won't work the same way. If we started yelling at a child for him to succeed, it won't work either. But when we motivate ourselves, we see the light within us, and we allow ourselves to see that it's not because we're here today doing something that we can't explore another way, another path, or a better version of us in the future. And we can move towards that. So to come back to connecting the dots and programming, well, programming is what? Programs, functions, variables. So for IT guys, it might seem very, very logical. But for others, what are they? Well, a program is something which is run by a computer. We call them apps, and they have a function. They act in service of something. And that service for us, if we take it to the being, is ourselves, is our soul, and is what we do every day. We use functions daily. We use our sights, that's a function. We use our brain, that's a function. And we're basically building towards objectives and what we're going to do during the day. Well, sometimes we have within that variables, and variables could be someone coming in, a situation, an event, or something coming in, and that is going to work with the program or to disrupt the program. And even when the program works, it might not give the exact result that we're looking. And that's when in IT we'll say, oh, there's a bug. Something crashed there. Well, for us, we're going to basically observe that and say, hey, that's not exactly acting the way we want it to act. I sometimes give an example of when we see a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum in a supermarket to get some chocolates. Well, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the parent. But the main thing is, if you're 30 and you start throwing a tantrum in a supermarket, well, apart from being thrown out by security, it's not really going to work, is it? So we can see that one program worked at a certain time, but then further on doesn't. So that gives us a small example of what can happen also in our day-to-day life, in our relationships, in our connections to others, in our way of being able to open up, to be vulnerable, to love, to connections, or we might enter in life moments or situations which don't work for us because we were playing the wrong program, or we were replaying an old program which needed to be updated. And that's where we find the connection with healing and hypnotherapy. When we start working with our programs, we start working with our patterns, well, we can change them. We can work with our whole database of our subconscious mind and with our energy field, which is also connected to everything around what we're building, to realize that no, it's not in harmony. It's not working anymore for us. And that's when we start going on the journey of healing, the journey of self-acceptance, and that we start offering more and more of who we are, of our light, our inner person, to the others around us. The idea is not to be someone else. The idea is not to compare with our neighbors, our friends, those influencers, those celebrities around. That's fine, they're doing them, and we can do us. And sometimes we're so inclined to want to do what other people do that suddenly we're not us. Or we're so ashamed of our past, of what's happened to us, that we don't want to speak up. We're afraid of what people might think, how they might judge us, how they might maybe not love us anymore if we show them that darkness or that thing that we've done or said or been before. Yet, that's exactly who we are. And without that past, well, we couldn't be offering who we are now, the awareness, the change, the steps that we've taken to become who we can today become. And that's where I come up with the fucked up therapist, because I consider, for my part, and I hold no truth, but this is my actual belief, we're all somehow fucked up. The world's completely screwed up, and not in a negative way, not always. It's simply that according to someone else, whatever we do, if they don't appreciate it, and if they don't see it the way they want to see it, it might be completely fucked up. They might not imagine your life. Let's say you want to live in a van and they're completely looking for a massive mansion. They'll think that that's completely crazy. And the other way stands true too, maybe, until we drop judgment, until we can accept that they're following their path and we're following ours. Our families are all basically problematic. And not in a bad way, because they're making us grow. If it was just comfort, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't outgrow ourselves to become something different, to explore. And that's all the exploration of life. As loving as our parents are, they've made mistakes. And that's normal. And us as parents, I'm now a father of a 23-year-old, well, yes, same thing. I've made mistakes. And the idea is, how do we make amends? How do we repair? And how do we learn from it? How do we grow? And that's completely okay. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people and that we're bad people or good people. Fucked up is actually a positive thing to me. It's saying, right, if I look at a mountain, for example, we're not going to say, oh, that mountain's fucked up because it has true rocks which are a bit broken on the left. No, we're looking at the beauty of it in itself, in its shape, the way it is. And we're not trying to make it something else for it to become perfect. Same for a flower, same for a tree. And for ourselves, well, we're looking for some kind of standards to exist and to become some form of perfection which is already there. So that's where basically I wanted to go. The journey we're going to go through with this podcast is going to be through some hypnotherapy, is going to go through some energy healing sessions, which I'm going to offer also, some channeling work, which comes through my highest guidance, where I get higher self or divine messages. Sometimes I get messages from people who have passed away, so this could be channeled too. And it's also going to be an open discussion on maybe my views on change, on life, on exploring, on being daring and allowing ourselves to be seen exactly the way we are. So this might be helping you also in your path of daring to be you and allowing yourself to be the most amazing people you are and the most amazing person with your own gifts, with your path, with your difficulties, where some of them are not your fault. but it's your responsibility now to become accountable for them and to create the change for you. Maybe you're seeing that that's triggering you or others, and that's maybe the moment where, hey, it's time to change, to make a move, and let go of the old version, the old skin that I was wearing, to be able to grow into a new path. The same way that today at 49, I'm starting this podcast and I'm finally daring talking in front of the camera, something which I've been holding back for about probably 2.5 years, maybe 3. I've been thinking, oh yeah, it would be nice to do one. What am I going to talk about? Is it going to be worthy? Is it going to be interesting? And then I thought, well, you know what? This is my voice. And my voice is through who I am, through what I offer, through my life path and experiences. And I hope that it'll be valuable to you to see that growth and to be able to ask questions, to take part and to connect with me at a little deeper level, and so that this allows you to also take new steps. So this is going to be the end of my first episode, more talking about this beginning of the journey and the thoughts behind it. And just to leave you with that, just a little reminder that now I'm living in Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands after quite a few ups and downs in life, and after an exploration of living for 18 months in a car where I wanted to go through that journey of minimalism also. So let's explore, let's play, let's be joyful with life, and let's have fun with it. And now I'm enjoying an amazing life on an amazing island and getting to meet and connect with more and more people. And I just wish that for you today is to be able to grow, to be able to let go of those patterns and connect with your superpowers. And at the same time, that sense of peace within you of knowing that you'll be just amazing, you'll be okay, because you're looking back and thinking, wow, that's a new version of me, and it's actually pretty cool. So, well, that's it for me, Olivier, the Fucked Up Therapist, episode 1. And, well, join, like, subscribe, comment, listen to it, let me know what you think, and let's just move from there. Have a